In 2022, Shein received a valuation of over 100 billion after a particularly successful round of funding. Private investors from all around the world, including institutional investors from China and America, set to take a piece of one of the fastest growing fashion brands in the world. By 2023, the Chinese fast fashion company restructured their internal workings and balanced their ever-growing revenues with one single goal in mind: to IPO at the London Stock Exchange by 2026 or 2027. Alas, this never took place. The Asian Goliath shifted home as their place desired for their public offering, leaving London in the dust as it geared towards a public offering in Hong Kong. But how is this possible? How can a fast fashion brand, notorious for their cheap items, be breaking the market enough to be valued at a similar level to Samsung? How has this Chinese company managed to escape the notorious risk world of fashion producers, ripe with thin margins and high acquisition costs, to become one of the largest brands of clothing items of this decade? I will tell you why. Shein is not a fashion brand. It is instead a technology company whose product is information on consumer fashion trends and whose perfected supply chain mechanisms allow them to deliver items to consumers faster and cheaper than the competition, while still keeping margins high and risk low. Shein is not a clothing company. It is a supply chain glitch. In the 21st century, every company must become a data company. This truism is, well, it's true. Back in the day, ethereal concepts like consumer taste experts or vanguard fashion and cooking connoisseurs would sell the mirage of understanding to producers of the medium. They would study the market with the few tools available to them, perhaps interviews or even simply taking note of what people were wearing, reading, or drinking down the street. Then they would design a product that would ideally capture that perceived market niche. Nowadays, we live in a datafied world. Each desire, impulse purchase, and taste leaves a mark upon the texture of our economy that can be gathered, sliced, and analyzed by companies seeking to forgo the old methods of market analysis and venture into a harder, number-first mode of production development. In the digital world, progressively more and more consumption is taking place, moving away from malls and main streets to Facebook marketplaces and Amazon. There, every action is tracked and every desire is datafied as digital personas of customers are built. Every like or dislike, every purchase, and every return are fed into systems designed to understand our desires and create products that satisfy the consumer. No longer going on vibes or the single experience of a supposed expert, but hard data. In the 21st century, if the fashionista says that this winter's color will be red, but the data says maroon, we're producing our winter line in maroon. And in case you don't know what maroon is, it is this color. There is nothing wrong with this. The market is a savage place, and understanding the paying customer is key for any business to survive. Not doing it and holding on to yesteryear's desires for opinionated takes from industry experts is not really a possibility anymore. If you're not responding to consumer data, your competition surely will. Hell, I do this constantly with this channel. Every video you guys watch and like and engage with tells me what it is that you like. I might prefer or think is better or more interesting a video that no one watches, but the reality is that it does not matter what I think, it matters what you think. Because I am not the audience, you guys are. And it is my duty to create videos that satisfy your tastes, not my own. Shein has perfected this shift towards the data-first economic development of fashion products. For the last decade, Shein has perfected their algorithm to scour the internet, especially TikTok, for any sign of fashion preferences amongst people, young and old, and gather, slice, and analyze that data. Shein is therefore acting more like a big data company, an aggregator of consumer interest that does not seek to be fashion forward or come up with this year's winter color. It outsources that to us. Shein's power is not on their brand or their consumer loyalty. It is on the vast troves of data that they have gathered on consumer preferences derived from online environments where people honestly display their likes or dislikes. With this information, Shein lowers the risk of producing an item or another because it can guarantee a certain level of demand, at least in paper. The ability to analyze the market first and to produce exactly the amount for which there is demand reduces the risk of producing too much, thereby incurring in lost stockage not being sold, or too little, hence leaving money on the table. They do not need to influence the market with advertisements supposed to bend your will towards a product or create buzz or interest. They follow the buzz that is already there and feed it the products that they have already shown interest in, at cheap prices. In this particular sense, Shein is humble. It does not seek to be fashion-forward or avant-garde. It follows the stated desire of their potential consumers. It simply analyzes the market and provides for the demand that is already there. Zara or Calvin Klein do this as well, don't get me wrong, but I believe that there is still enough DNA of the old fashion world within these two giants that make them believe that they can define the route that fashion will follow in a single year. And who knows, maybe they can, but Shein is definitely more capable of finding every small audience that already exists and produce exactly for the demand that is there. Not leading, but following. But a powerful algorithm is not the only tool on Shein's belt to provide the consumers with the product that they seek. Because if you know what the consumer wants, but cannot produce the desired item, you're just a market research firm. And Shein is not just a big data company, it is a supply chain hacker. Shein knows what people want. For that, they have their powerful algorithm crawling through TikTok. But in case you did not know it, people and fashion consumers are particularly fickle. They want products exactly in a particular way. And they're also impatient. But let's be honest, in 2026, who isn't impatient? Shein knows that the demand for a particular item exists, but they also know that the fashion world is a hyper-competitive environment, so they know that that demand pocket will not remain unfulfilled forever. They need to hurry. And this leads us to the supply side of Shein's empire. To address the demand for a given product, Shein must have a large and capital investment network of factories perfected and ready to go at a moment's notice, right? Wrong. Shein instead has been able to knit a veritable archipelago of tens of thousands of small workshops across China and the rest of the world that feed on cheap labor and live or die by the whims of their research. Shein achieves two things with this. The reduction of their operating costs, as their capital becomes an atomized texture of single producing units instead of an overly expensive centralized machinery, and the flexibility to only activate the production in some of their workshops, so as to meet the aforementioned correct level of demand. This mechanism works great for Shein, but it is a terrible existence for those workshops who are being kept alive by a company whose interests shift as rapidly as our own do, and requires the fastest product development possible. Right now, Shein is capable of producing items in less than 48 hours since their algorithm discovers the pocket of their audience in TikTok. It is mad, it is faster than fast fashion, and it is the world that we live in. These workshops are also a brutal place where cheap labor is exploited. Now, let's not pretend that this is just a Shein thing. Other less fast fashion oriented brands still engage in this sort of abuse, but at least other brands have higher margins to work with. Shein has thin profits, and not a single cent more than necessary is going to those producers. There is a hard reality about our modern world, and it is one that we need to contend with, especially those of us interested in the business side of the world. Shein is an excellent company from a business perspective, but their impact on the world is middling at best. We can handwave away criticisms of a society that say sweatshops make them uncomfortable while still buying from Shein, because it is hypocritical, but that does little to address the underlying abuse of people at the bottom of the system. There is a heartbreaking fact that we need to contend with as we analyze businesses in the modern world. The deeper one goes down a supply chain, the closer one is to hell. Teslas are just a product, but lithium mines are horrend places where we would not send our worst enemies. Much in the same way, buying a shirt from Shein is a morally neutral act, an economic blip in the giant machine that is capitalism, but those people suffering in the ghost shops are real. They're not just a production cost. The final point of this puzzle is Shein's delivery mechanism. We have reviewed how they are able to develop exciting products based on actual proven consumer interest and demand, and how they're able to mobilize their army of ghost workshops. But how does the product actually get into the hands of consumers? Obviously, Shein also supplies China, but the mechanism through which they get their products into the US is the more interesting story, so we will focus on that for the moment. In order to understand the way the delivery of products into the US is optimized by Shein, first we need to understand the concept known as the de minimis rule. This was a mechanism part of the 1930s Tariff Act that would allow shipments into the US that were worth less than a given amount, this used to be around about $800, to enter duty-free and requiring very little documentation. This has been a mechanism that has been a fundamental part of the Shein ecosystem since its conception. Opposite to big companies like Zara, who import their items in bulk to be sold through their stores, Shein simply delivers their packages into the US, benefiting from lower taxation and the simplified process of import. This has difficulted the ability of the postal system to cope with the sheer size of Shein products delivered. We have data from 2024 which said that over 4 million packages a day were received across the country. Each one benefited from the lower import tax under the de minimis legislation. Many have argued that this has led to an abusive relationship by the Chinese giant of the mechanisms of the state and of delivery and processing companies, rendering their ability to inspect each package obsolete. And it was seen by many as a mechanism to avoid taxes that ought to apply to all of their competitors. It would seem that the US Postal Service had grown a parasite that feeded on employee time and abused the system, something that created much deserved anger and claims of unfair competition in the industry. As of 2026, the US administration has closed the de minimis exemption for products from China and Hong Kong, essentially closing this cheaper legal pathway for products from Shein into the US. Whether Shein could pivot to produce their fashion in other countries and import it from there into the US, as a new ploy to escape the 10% tariff applied on their goods, or those costs will simply be shifted onto the consumers, thereby making the market more competitive for national companies, it is to be seen. The birth of a titan is always as interesting a story as it is a brutal one, and the birth of this behemoth is proof of how much capitalism will change in the 21st century. The advent of demand tracing algorithms and our desire to showcase our likes and dislikes onto easily datifying platforms will undoubtedly lead many companies down the path that Shein led, a concerted effort to try and seek demand instead of create it, and then mercilessly satisfy it. The cost of this shift will be monumental, especially for producers, who are caught between a desire for faster delivery across the world and a lack of long-term planning as the world shifts from demand creating, which leads to a structured yearly production schedule, to demand following, which is brutal, fast-paced, and often abusive. This new world will also reshape the rules of engagement across countries, leading to a pivot in the way international relationships and trade operate. Companies like Shein exploiting loopholes designed for something else and unfairly competing with national companies will lead countries inward, in a protectionist effort to defend their own national industries. We have seen this with the US or the complicated state of the EU-Mercosur deal. But this is a road I am afraid many will follow. The system is shaking. Companies like Shein are the titans dancing, causing the earthquakes. And then there we are, in for the ride whether we like it or not. But if you think it is only trade being disrupted as capitalism breaks from its 20th century shell into the newly 21st century shape, you should watch this video where we talk about how the subscription economy might make the future even weirder. Because if Shein has changed the way that we buy, the subscription economy will make sure that we never truly own anything. Thank you for watching.